One of the most important responsibilities of leadership is learning how to listen. Great leadership doesn't begin with demanding attention or recognition. It begins with a genuine commitment to understanding and serving others. That principle is at the heart of today's conversation. Recently, during a Favorite Together Formation Live, we explored a concept called congestive hope failure. What happens when leaders become discouraged, disconnected, or disillusioned because their expectations, experiences, and realities no longer align? After that conversation, I had the opportunity to sit down with two Gen Z emerging leaders just to hear their perspectives, not to debate them, not to correct them, but to understand them. Because healthy leadership requires more than having answers. It requires creating space for honest dialogue, curiosity, and understanding across multiple generations. So whether you're a pastor, ministry leader, organizational leader, or someone who just simply wants to lead people well, I invite you to listen in. Now, come on, join me at the table with Brandon and Angel.
Welcome to the table.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, your special guest today.
Feel especially honored.
Yes. And I feel a little outnumbered. I'm surrounded by emerging leaders. We're bridging the gap.
Yes.
No, but this is good because oftentimes we go into rooms and your voices are not heard.
Mhm.
And I'm just so thankful that not only that's what Favorite Together is all about, right? It's specifically for emerging leaders, but I'm so grateful that you both took the time out to join me here in the formation room.
Yes. Yes.
So let's unpack this. You know, the other day we were talking about congestive hope failure,
Mhm.
and I shared my story about my sister and why this is so critical, but it's not about me. It's not about my sister. It's really about your thoughts.
This is a very hard time for people. I mean, you think about the world that we live in today versus the world that was maybe 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? 25 years ago, I was 1 year old.
Gee, Brandon.
I was 25 years old.
I wasn't here.
Oh, I'm older. Oh my goodness.
Praise God.
So
you can't say that. I'm older.
And you think about that though, like all of us at this table have different experiences, but the world that we live in today requires so much more of us.
Yes.
And we're stuck because we don't know what we could do to move forward. A lot of people are in my age range, in my generation, are confused about their identity. They're confused about whether or not the vision that they have is actually from God or if it's just a dream.
Yeah, wow, that's good.
There's a difference between a vision and a dream.
Yeah.
A dream is something that's personal and an aspiration, an idea that we conjure up within our fantasy. But a vision is something that's handed to us, that's given to us to steward over and to build and to plant, to tear down some things, to uproot some things. And when we are in this, moment in time and we're looking and we're going, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with what God has given me? And how am I going to do it? We get confused because we're like, I ain't got the money, right? Or bills, or who do I go to? Who do I run to? The songs like, who do
He's a singer.
When you need love, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You think about hope. Hope comes from a place of nurturing love.
Yeah.
When you first nurture the love or
That's
the passion
That's good.
for something, right? And oftentimes, how many times have you seen people start something and don't finish it? Well, typically they started it out of fear, out of the state of survival, and not necessarily in the state of vision.
That's good.
So when you start something and trying to build something out of the state of survival, you're only doing it for fear of maybe economic reasons, social class. You're trying to fit in. So you're trying to build something up to protect your wealth, maybe to protect your mental health, instead of doing it out of God's stewardship, out of God's vision, And then you get lost because you're like, wait a minute, it's not working.
Yeah.
It's not doing what I think it should do.
And a large part of the reason why is because that is not their vision. That may be their passion, right? Or they may have looked out and said, oh, that's working for so-and-so. That's what I'm called to do.
Yeah.
And it's not what you're called to do.
And I always say, I think I've said this on one of our other episodes, anything that you're building in your own strength is going to be torn down because you cannot sustain what God has called you to do by yourself. And so when people try to do things on their own, it always fails. Yeah.
And that's the reason why I really love the Unpacked, because it's an opportunity to really bring in different perspectives, different lens of being able to see what does it take to stay on course? What does it take to stay aligned with the vision that God put in me? And what are the right questions that I need to ask of my leaders, right? Because everyone's vision should fit into somebody else's overall vision because everybody has a part. So why do you think that everyone loses sight of what their part is in the bigger scheme? Think of it like a body.
Yes, that's exactly.
Everybody's vision is really supposed to connect with another part of the body. So where's that translation getting lost of what their part is?
I think people are trying to be too independent. And especially in the body of Christ, I always say, if I'm the hand, why am I worried about what the pinky toe is doing? The pinky toe can't help me up here. We're supposed to work together to incorporate those bodily functions. And so many people are trying to do the work of the hand as the foot, or trying to do the work of the mouth as the shoulders. And not nobody, but people get out of their lanes trying to prove something, I think, to themselves, trying to prove that I can do this in my own strength. I don't need anybody else, but God created us to do things in community.
And I'm going to throw this responsibility on your generation.
Come on.
Okay. I can take it.
Well, you think about it, right? We're only as good as what we've seen. Jesus said, he said, I do what I see my Father do, right? So the people ahead of us, how much have we actually learned from your generation? And I think, you think about the millennials and the baby boomers, right? For such a time, they were building and constructing their own realities. And then they looked at us and they were like, okay, now it's your turn to figure it out because you're the next generation to come forward. But no one had the midwife spirit to birth again, right? We got lazy, we got slothful maybe, or maybe we were so busy, or that generation was so busy building what they thought God had called them to build,
that part,
that they get so focused on that and tunnel vision that they forgot to look behind and say, hey, where's the Samuels that say, let's build a school and teach the next generation. Let's take some classes. Let's do something. And because we can't do what we don't know to do.
Now you know the heart of Favor Together.
Yes.
I cannot speak for my entire generation. I can only speak for me and the leadership, everyone who surrounds and supports Favor Together, because it's not even on me. It is an army of collaborative partners that have a heart to seeing the next generation really succeed. Right? So I can't speak for everybody. I can speak for myself, but I will kind of shed some insight because with my generation, we were challenged, I guess, to figure it out ourselves. And what happens? That becomes learned behavior. Like if I had to do that, then how can I teach someone to figure it out on their own? We were latchkey kids, right? But again, we did have a model to be able to say, oh, look at what our grandparents did. Look at what they built. So we did have a blueprint that we were able to follow. And that's why you saw the rise of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely,
You saw the rise of a lot of different entities. But again, to your point, we did not plan. Well, I can't put myself in the we, but a lot of folks were so into me, that they forgot about we. and they forgot about the next generation coming behind us.
Yes.
So oftentimes I think about the little things, teaching your generation how to pray, how to wait, how to labor.
Ooh, that's good.
You know, those are all things that I had to learn,
That's good.
you know, and I'm steadfast in that.
Yeah.
I don't quit.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that your generation are seeing, you're witnessing people quitting on their vision. They're not quitting on God,
Mm-hmm.
but they're quitting on the vision because of hopelessness.
Yes.
They have equated now waiting as I'm not being blessed.
Yep.
Mhm.
Wow. That's
Well, I would like to challenge that because you just said they're quitting on their vision, but they're not quitting on God.
Mhm.
But isn't it that if you quit on your vision, you're inadvertently quitting on God because God is the one that gave the vision?
Mhm.
You know, faith without works is
Mhm.
dead.
Mhm.
And how can anyone please God
Mhm.
that you have faith?
Mhm.
And so, in the religious sense, no, you're not leaving the institution of the church.
Yep.
That's why.
But you're leaving the essence of God.
Yes.
Because God does not have to do anything.
Mhm.
And he said that we are made in his image
Yeah.
and his likeness. So then are we not turning our eyes away from God and putting our eyes on man?
Mhm.
And so we have this false sense of hope.
Yeah.
Because in order to get real hope, you got to deal with this preconceived notion
Yeah.
of what hope is.
Right.
And so we have this false sense of hope built on the strength of our own name and not the name of God. And so we leave ourselves open to fear and disarray and destruction and calamity.
Right.
And we say, well, I'm still in God. And God's like, well, you ain't doing what I told you to. Because Jesus said, I'm just
Come on, read your
the
Bible. Read your
Well, we can
Bible.
play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Because you raised a good point,
Mhm.
right? The reason why I said that people will quit their vision, but they won't quit on God because they're still showing up.
Mhm.
If you notice, they are still walking out part
Yes.
of the vision.
Mhm.
But to your point, they're lukewarm.
Mhm.
Yep.
But many of the lukewarm people are still in leadership.
Yeah.
Many of these lukewarm people are still functioning.
Yes.
So the thing is that did they really quit on God? No, they love God,
Mhm.
but they're not walking in the fullness
Mhm.
of their purpose.
Yeah.
And they will have to make account
Yes.
to God at the end of the day
Yeah.
for not fulfilling the
Mhm.
entirety
Yes.
of what He has called them to.
Mhm.
But I never like to assume
Mhm.
that people have quit on God.
Yes.
Because there are still some people that believe wholeheartedly they love God, but they it's like they separate it and
Mhm.
say, but I have given up hope
Mhm.
that this part will come to fruition
Mhm.
because I've had to wait so long.
So we
I'm
should
waiting for the
challenge
job.
that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's why we're having this conversation, because these types of conversations, these type of things
Mhm.
are not talked about in
Nope.
the church.
Yes.
Sure not.
It's not talked about at home.
Mhm.
It's not part of the construct of even the babes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, what does it look like when they have to wait for a toy?
Yes. Mhm.
Are we teaching them what that really means?
Mhm.
Why we're trying to teach them to wait?
Yeah.
Mhm. Teaching them no.
Mm.
I'm sorry, you just cussed.
I mean, seriously.
You know, but
Have you
teaching
seen
them
that?
no.
You tell
Yeah.
people no now, and it's
Mhm.
like you've said a bad word.
Yeah, literally. Oh,
Or when we use the word, because coming from a psychology background, we use this idea of setting boundaries,
Mhm.
but we use it and we misappropriate that word.
yes.
Because setting boundaries
Come
is
on.
not about restricting someone else's access.
Mhm.
It's what it really is. It's saying what you're not going to allow
Exactly.
yourself
Yes.
to do
Mhm.
in the midst of a company of other people.
Mhm.
So the responsibility of setting boundaries is not on someone else, it's on you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then your expectations and how you think or perceive someone should act in your presence.
Mhm.
And so when we say the word no, it's not that we're telling you no,
Mhm.
it's that I'm saying I'm not going to allow
Correct.
myself
Exactly.
to indulge or to engage in
Yeah.
this because I have self-agency.
Yes.
And we have forgotten that God has given every man
Yes.
agency.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I take away agency, am I not trying to be God over you?
Mm.
Am I not trying to lord over you?
Yes.
Am I not trying to manage something because the thing is, it's not my job to manage your soul.
Mhm.
That's your responsibility.
Mhm.
With the Holy Spirit,
Mhm.
my job is to shepherd your soul.
There you go.
There's a difference
That's
between
good.
management
Yes.
and shepherding.
That's so
Yes.
good.
And that is, when I'll never forget,
Mhm.
I went in and I had to help two different CEOs. And at the time, this is very early on when I started the
Mhm.
consulting
Mhm.
firm. And I said, what would you like to see from me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you need from me? And they said, shepherd the vision.
Mm.
And I was like, ding, ding, ding. And it was
Yes.
like, that's an ecosystem. And that's where
Mhm.
shepherding vision transformation comes from.
Yes.
But to your point, when I started to really dig deep in what that looked like, because they looked at it from the organizational level, but I looked at it from a spiritual level.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I went down this rabbit hole of, just looking at everything. And I realized that has been stripped away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That shepherding piece
Yes.
has been stripped away from ministry, from churches. It became, what conferences can I speak
Yeah.
at?
Mm-hmm.
Sunday service,
Mhm.
midweek Bible. But where's that shepherding where everything that's going on
Mhm.
with every single person, every single generation? You're able to look at the root cause and know
Mhm.
before something happens
Yeah.
of what's
Yes.
going on. How many people are sick and the leaders don't even know about it?
Yeah.
So out of touch.
So that shepherding is one of those outcomes when we talk about, like, yes, we can identify, here are all the issues when it
Yeah.
comes to congestive hope failure, but at some point we have to shift the conversation to, what do we do about it?
Yes.
And one of those things is doing that self-assessment,
Mhm.
not before you go to managing the expectations of other people.
Mhm.
Can you do a self-assessment, a self-examination
Mhm.
of, in my capacity, how am I showing up as a shepherd?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How am I showing up
Yeah.
being an example
Mhm.
of what it is that I'm
Mhm.
teaching?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Modeling behavior.
Yes.
If you want behavior to change, you have to model the changed behavior.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because the world has this. I mean, if you go to in HR,
Yes.
you guys, you steal our theories in HR. Behavior modification. We'll put you on a behavioral improvement plan, right?
Yeah.
And so you think about that,
We
right?
didn't steal that. We created it.
You
Implemented
Okay, don't.
Implemented it.
implemented,
Yeah.
yes, in a real world sense.
Exactly.
But you think about the world does that.
Yes.
But why, and when you think about like small businesses maybe, or people who say, well, it's just me and my family.
Yeah.
You said earlier that, being a father. Well, if I'm the father, that means I have to model a behavior that I say is acceptable.
That's right.
So if, because we don't cuss in my household. So, there should be any way that my children are exposed to that in this household,
Mhm.
right? Because the modeling behavior of the parents, and that they say is acceptable.
Right.
And so when you think about that in terms of the church or in terms of business, why are we so timid to step outside and say, I'm going to be different.
Mm.
I'm going to be unique? Because hope requires uniqueness.
Yes.
And that's, oh my goodness, that is a word right there. Because that has been one of my pet peeves.
Wow.
There is an expectation
Yes.
of conformity.
Yes.
So if I'm not like you, or the people are not like me, and that's not modeling. Each of us has a uniqueness in what we bring to the table.
Yeah.
You can break down mindsets and from a psychology, and you'll break it down in ways that I can't even imagine. But the thing is that I don't have to know or agree. We challenge each other through dialogue.
Yes.
Everything is not conflict.
Mhm.
Everything is not meant to, you have to be exactly
Correct.
the way that I say that you
Yeah.
should be, because to me, that's a cult.
Yes.
And
but it is.
Go up
But
now.
But it is.
because
No,
when
it's-
you're saying, I need you to conform
Yeah.
to what I say,
Yeah.
where is that in the Word of God?
Mhm.
I've searched.
Gonna walk off this
Yeah. Because, at some point we have to get to a place where we all can feel comfortable
Yes.
having a conversation. That's why everything that we do here, it's about having a conversation.
Yeah.
And we can agree to disagree,
Mhm.
but we talk it out
Mhm.
without a spirit of conflict.
Yep.
Yeah. And everything is not, you don't like me
Mhm.
and I don't like you.
Yeah.
Why can't we just say we disagree?
Yeah. And can we
And
just get
and it's not an argument. And it's not an argument.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits, like you, since you're bringing my HR side, but HR is
Mhm.
non-confrontational. It's
Right.
really around, let's identify
Mhm.
the behavior, what's
Yeah.
operating
Yes.
here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And to your point, imagine if, whether in the church, at home, we all got to a place where we can say, what's operating here? What's at the root cause
Yeah.
Mhm.
of what's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that would avoid people's hope being destroyed.
Yeah.
Because
We're not
some
ready for
people
that.
cannot conform. Some people just, it's kind of like, I just need to be me. And when I
Yeah.
try to be like you,
Mhm.
it doesn't
Doesn't
flow.
flow.
Right. Because hope is the essence of expectation for
Yes.
the future.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I have a vision in my mind
Mhm.
given to me by God of something,
Mhm.
and He has given it to me uniquely,
Mhm.
because again, revelation is going to come unique to that
Yeah.
individual.
Exactly.
So when I received that from God, you weren't there, right? When God talked to me, so you're relying on me and my
Yeah.
expression of that vision,
Yeah.
right? And God will send people to confirm His
Yeah.
word.
Say that
That's
again.
good.
He will send people
Yes,
to
He will.
confirm His word.
Say that one more
And
time.
He will send people.
To confirm.
Yeah. He'll send it to confirm His word.
But and he may send somebody who is outside of your immediate circle.
And that is true.
Almost
And
always
he
will.
may send somebody to help cultivate and shape
Yes.
the revelatory
He almost
word
always
that
will.
he gave.
Yes.
And it may be that that person has to go to another shepherd
Mhm.
to be taught, to be fed. And it's not to keep them there. They're on loan. And imagine if you're able to collaborate and give
Jesus.
feedback and everybody's working together. And then what happens? Then you send them back and they're sending them back stronger,
Yes.
wiser.
Yeah.
But they're still now flowing in the hope
Yeah.
of the word
Yes.
that they received
Yes.
and not in isolation. They just received it while they were spending time with the Lord. And
Yes.
we all can't be there.
Exactly.
Nor should we pierce to see what the Lord
No.
is speaking.
Not being nosy.
Some things are intimate,
Yes.
right? Conceived through intimacy.
Yes.
So, hope is conceived through intimacy.
Yeah.
And when you have that intimate moment with God, and it doesn't have to be some deep spiritual vision in terms of, it could be a business plan that God gives you.
Yeah.
It could be a plan for your family,
Yeah.
a plan for the church. But when you have that moment with God, the intimate moment, and that conception happens, and then you start to go through the growing pains, right?
Yeah.
And you start to move through that.
Yeah.
It is difficult. It's it can feel isolating at
Yeah.
times, but we know that our feelings and emotions
Mhm.
are fleeting.
Yes,
So we don't
there you go.
lean because emotions are a weapon against hope. And if we don't learn to manage that, if we don't learn to control and manage our own emotions, not leave it to the responsibility of someone else. Because here's the thing. Here's what our generation has done.
Come on.
We have said to our shepherds, it's your job to manage my emotions. And that is incorrect.
No, it's correct.
No, it is not.
You know why? Because when someone tells me that, I'm like, well, it's a good thing that I am certified in emotional intelligence. So let's go through the coaching
Mm-hmm.
in order for you to understand how to identify how you're showing up.
Yes.
So
But but even in that, you're giving them the tools to do it themselves.
Correct.
and especially as a leader, why did I go get certified? I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
Thank you for asking. It was because I kept seeing a pattern and a trend that every single person that God was connecting with me, the ones that I had to oversee as their leader, they all kept getting in their emotions. And I remember when I was your age, yes, it was a while ago, but I still remember, I was always told, get out of your emotions. And I'm like, I've always been outspoken. And I'm like, how can you tell me to get out of my emotions when there's emotions throughout the Word of God?
Yeah.
God got angry.
Yeah.
So why are you telling me to get out of my emotions?
Yeah.
So I went down this path of all right, I know what I experienced, and I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to tell your generation, get out of your emotion. So I went and got certified because I wanted tools to be able to walk someone through to grow, because you don't want to remove your emotions, but you want to be able to know how I'm not going to respond out of my emotions.
Exactly.
I'm going to stay in a place of truth, and I'm going to stay in a place of that.
Yeah.
And being able to balance when people are like, well, they're trying to push you into your emotions. It's like, well, help me to understand where you're at.
And the thing, and emotions are not a taboo thing.
Right.
You know, a lot of times we don't want to feel.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
we choose to be numb.
That's true.
We choose to walk in a numbness that disassociates us from the feeling of that moment, of that situation.
And we know that from the amount of people that are wearing earthy cologne when they walk by. But it's numbing. They don't want to feel.
They don't want to feel.
But no one wants to feel anything. And emotions are not a bad thing. They're not taboo. There's not some, it ain't a devil. It ain't wicked. But what it is, it's an indication of your soul.
There you go.
It's the language of your soul. And so you don't sit in it and wallow in it, right? And say, oh, I'm just poor as me, pity.
Yeah.
But do like David did.
Yeah.
He acknowledged his emotions.
Yes.
But then he turned over to God and said, I'm going to look to the hills, which come by help. My help comes from the Lord, which made the heavens and the earth. So I'm not going to sit here, even though I feel this way. I'm going to acknowledge how I feel, but I see something. You anointed me as king. You did this to me. So I'm going to turn back to the one that did it.
The source, though. The source.
Because my hope is not anchored in me. It's anchored in God. So when your hope is anchored in God, in vision, in your business, in the church, in your family, then when things get hard, the congested hope failure will not happen to you.
You'll learn how if someone is diagnosed with congestive heart failure, you're given tools. You're given ways to live with it, to manage it. This is no different. What we're talking about are tools to be able to manage it, because emotions can impact your hope so greatly. And especially if you're around people that will make you think that the emotion that you are experiencing in that moment is evil. That emotion is going to lead you down a path. No, I tell everyone, if you call me or you reach out to me, you have 10 to 20 seconds to get out whatever it is that you have to say. Because God already knows if you're angry, upset,
what you're anxious, for. Don't pretend like it's not there.
Please.
Just say it. You know?
But the thing is that it's almost like learning. You talked about a new language. It's unlearning some things around it's evil, it's bad, it's negative. To know the expression of it, being able to say, you know what, I don't like sitting and waiting. I don't like what I'm having to feel right now. But you have to turn to, but God, I thank you. I thank you for what you're going to show me in this season of waiting. I thank you for the instructions that I'm not going to get stuck in this season of waiting. How do I keep moving so that way I'm ready when you are ready to say, now run.
Now run.
But it's that language.
It's and we refuse to have a conversation with God. We refuse.
Try to hide it from
We try to hide, and we walk around. we walk like God is a blind bat.
Because he's not like, and we sit there and we refuse to have a conversation with God.
But you know who we'll talk to? We'll talk to the emotional, hyper-emotional friend. Come on, that'll keep us where we are. Or we'll talk to someone, but when God puts people in our lives and we say, well, that person's just too hard, or that person is just too realistic,
or that person is too busy,
or that person is too busy. Who told you my schedule?
Thank you.
I tried to tell someone that recently. I was like, who told you? Did I tell you I was busy? Don't assume for me. Oftentimes we assume that the help that God has sent us is too busy because we don't want to engage. But oftentimes God is like, I know what you're going through. And first of all, I'm the one that orchestrated your life from the beginning. So, I mean, if you really want some help on the on the architecture of your life, talk to the architect. Talk to the one that gave the blueprint, that built the foundation.
And you don't have to
No.
Just have a conversation.
I told God like a week or so ago, I said to him, I just don't like, help me, because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like
I mean,
it.
make it plain.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, can you hurry?
I mean,
Please. Can we get through this
show me
thing?
the calendar.
Like, when I was going
the
through
children have temper tantrums. Why can't we?
and
I mean, I
you
feel
know the science behind that? I'll just give y'all a little psychological thing
this.
here.
Is good.
So, when you learn about parenting, and there's a lot of recent studies that show this, you're not really supposed to talk to a child when they're throwing a tantrum because, one, their frontal lobe, their prefrontal cortex is not developed.
Right.
So they do not have the higher level of thinking to actually reason to say, oh, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
What you're supposed to do is let them act it out.
Exactly.
Right? But how many times, I didn't even know myself growing up, you start to feel some type where you get frustrated and you're just like,
Yeah.
and then immediately someone of authority comes in and says, stop, don't do that. Or they reprimand you.
Yeah.
They shut the language.
Exactly.
They kill the language of expression. And so then you start to grow in life and say, well, I can never express myself. And so now you have this idea of repression.
Yeah.
But let them, and so like when Anna wants to have her,
After that woman,
I said, okay.
Yeah.
We let her have her moment.
Yeah.
When she calms down, when she starts to breathe again,
Yeah.
I go to her and I'll say, okay, what's wrong?
yeah, exactly.
Tell me how you
Yeah.
feel.
Yes.
What's going on with you? Like, what do you want? Because next time, I'm going to ask you to just say that first.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to teach you
Exactly.
how to speak
That's
what
so
it is that you
good.
need.
Yes.
That's so good.
And I tell people all the time, because not everyone has the language, right? So there are times where I'm like, okay, what do you see that is causing it? And I'm like, don't try to make it sound all perfect.
Right, just say it.
describe
Yeah.
what it is that you're experiencing. But whatever that looks like, and sometimes I have to give them a piece of paper because depending upon what their stuff, there are some people that have to just draw it out,
Yes.
right? There are some people I've been around where they just need to dance it out,
Yeah.
right? But they have to get out that level of expression in their manner, in their own way. And then we step in and we're like, okay,
Now that that's out.
yes, this is where the discernment comes in, because oftentimes we can call who we're comfortable with, but not the person who can shepherd us out of the posture that we're in.
Yes.
So that's where I'm kind of like, I look at this hopelessness and I'm like, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
This is not generational because I see people in their 70s,
Yes.
60s, 20s. But this knows no age.
Nope.
That's right.
This is something I was blessed where I was a bad child.
Mhm.
Right? So I was. But when I got to a place, because my dad figured out, all right, so she is being strategic and knowing, okay, she's going to get in trouble because she knows I want to spank her. And I already had it outlined. Well, there's nothing on TV. There's no movies out. Yeah, I can do this and get away with it. And other people published on 2 weeks and next watch it. Right? So he figured that out. Yeah, he is good. He figured it out. And then what he started to do was sit down and talk and talk and talk. And I was like, just spank me.
Please.
But I realized that he was trying to understand my why. And even as I got older and I didn't like something, I would call him and he would say, let's go for a walk. And we would just walk and talk. But I learned how to process what it is that I'm experiencing. So that's what I'm passing on. Now, I don't have all the psychological terminology.
But that's it right there.
But sometimes, and then the HR kicks in because when people keep showing up doing the same thing, now it's, no, this behavior is no longer acceptable and will not be tolerated. The HR terminology. You know?
Wait,
But
the voice kicked in.
But sometimes you have to get to that place where, you know, if someone is taking advantage, but before you get there, we have to each be able to say, all right, I'm not equipped to handle the emotions on my team, in my on my ministry. And who is it that I now need to link arms with? Right? Because that's part of the vision that God has given. That's their part of being able to do it, save the lost. And when we're talking about hopelessness, when someone is experiencing congestive hope failure, guess what? They're lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we call a spade a spade?
Yes,
They're
absolutely.
lost.
Absolutely.
And this happens in leadership.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No one is exempt. This is where, going full circle, that shepherding,
Yeah.
we have
Yes.
to start paying
Yes.
attention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Get off of text.
Mhm.
If God puts someone on your heart, ain't gonna say, I'm just texting.
Come meet me for dinner. That's what you
Thank
need to
you.
text.
Have coffee.
Let's have lunch.
Be intentional.
See their
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
their affect. See
Yeah.
what they look like.
Yeah.
Because, when you think about sight,
Yeah.
right, it's looking beyond the premise
Correct.
and the foundation that we put on.
Yeah.
Y'all know about foundation.
Seriously.
you, you know about foundation, right? But it's like, we put this face on
Yeah.
before people because we don't want people, again, to see us in our vulnerability.
Yeah.
But when we really have the sight of God,
Yeah.
we can see beyond what people are wearing. There's only so much I can get from you when we're just having even a FaceTime conversation.
Mhm.
I mean, virtual world has its thing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but when a community comes together in person, there's a power there.
Yeah.
That's why, it's so important. Oftentimes you think about, and especially in my generation, our generation, we sometimes get caught up in the religious
Mhm.
sector of,
Mhm.
well, I don't like the religious church.
Right.
I don't like the system of the church.
Mhm.
So I'm going to depart myself from this group of people
Yeah.
and I'm going to go have my personal
Mhm.
relationship with God. Because I don't know which God you're serving, but but you have to be aware.
Yeah.
But this has been something I've been looking at. It's been something that has been happening for the past 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
Since COVID hit, that was it started before then, but
Mhm.
I think COVID magnified
Oh, yeah.
it.
Pushed
Where
it.
now everybody got comfortable virtual.
Mhm.
And that is the reason why, yes, we are virtual, but we encourage everyone
Yes.
to come here
Mhm.
and actually experience this live.
Yeah.
Because it is a coming out and understanding what does the institution of, because I think that people have defined things
Yes.
Yeah.
in according to their own understanding
Absolutely.
versus what is true.
True.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Not everyone, look, you're a scholar when it comes to, but there are some people that, like me, I know the word, I'm not going to quote the address and all of that stuff,
Mhm.
but whether I'm teaching, speaking, you can feel the word
Yes.
in what it is that I'm saying,
Yes.
right? But it's who do you need to be around in order to grow?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what formation is all about.
Yeah.
It's looking at your current level of responsibility and helping to equip you with those skills, but it's not keeping you there.
Right.
It's around helping you to grow into the
Yes.
fullness
Exactly.
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
what your purpose is, what
Yeah.
your vision is, and giving you access
Mhm.
to the people that will guide you,
Mhm.
not tell you what to do. We are guides.
Yes.
We are partners
Yeah.
in
Yes.
this thing called life. That's what is being restored.
Mhm.
This whole do as I say, and that era is done.
Well, we're not going to. I'm gonna be honest with you. Our generation, the moment you say, "Do as I say,"
Mhm.
we're gonna look at you. We're gonna look at you like you got 5 heads, and we're gonna walk out. Like there's I just had this conversation working at a college, right? And so we had this conversation about career development
Mhm.
and why so many young people are because the unemployment rate for young people has increased
Yeah.
in the past maybe year and a half
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
And so we're like, why are so many young people not staying employed?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons that we keep coming across
Mhm.
is that they are not going to tolerate
Mhm.
certain behaviors.
Mhm.
So, when you have like a baby boomers who was like, you stick in it no matter what it is because you need that
Yes.
retirement check.
Uh-huh.
We're looking at like now, there a lot, and this is so funny because a lot of people are now saying, well, by the time that we actually get ready to retire, there's not going to be worth anything.
Right.
So they lost that hope.
Yep.
They've lost that hope for the future.
Yeah.
So they're saying there's no need for me to stay on a job
Mhm.
where I need to put in so much, but then get treated like dirt. So now a lot of individuals are saying, you know what? I'll just go be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But they're not ready.
So
Yeah.
and I can speak to that part.
Mhm.
That I think a large part of what happened, of why your generation is no longer staying
Mhm.
at jobs, it's because they heard everywhere from
Yes.
pulpits, from at home, that everybody needed to start their own business.
Mm.
That is off.
Yes.
Wow.
There are some business owners,
Mhm.
but it became where, oh, start your own business so you can become a millionaire.
Yeah.
Everybody is not going to be a millionaire.
Mm-mm.
So the thing is that it was incorrect
Yes.
for that message to be put out there because they made it sound easy.
Yes.
They made it sound like, oh, all I got to do is come up with a business name,
Yeah.
and we still applaud it. We
Mhm.
applaud when someone puts here's my company name and here's this. And it's like, that don't mean you have a business.
No.
Right.
Where's the work coming in? What is the vision?
Where's the fruit?
How long does it last? How long?
A month.
Because
But say what you said again.
Where's the fruit? Where's the fruit?
Well, we now really need to start really examining
Mhm.
before we applaud someone who has a company name and saying, okay, here's what I'm doing, and they put a flyer out.
Right.
Where's the fruit
Yeah.
of the manifestation of
Yeah.
what God has told
God.
you?
What is
Because
the vision? Because it
There-
starts with vision.
there you go.
You can have a business,
Thank
but then
you.
it's not going to last with no vision.
No.
With the lack of vision, the people perish.
But can I tell you something? That is always my first question.
Mhm.
My first question when I step into a church, when I step wherever God sends me, whoever He connects me, what's your vision?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know that 9 out of 10 pastors will tell me that's a great question?
Mm.
Will you know that entrepreneurs? That's a really good question. How are you starting anything? How are you continuing anything when the people don't, you or your people don't know what the vision is?
Right.
What are people following? That is another main reason for hopelessness.
Yeah.
You don't
What
put
am
your
I
body
connected
in.
to?
At all.
Your marriage.
Yeah.
The person that, if someone comes to me and says, God told me that, the Spirit told me that you're my wife. What's your vision?
Mm-hmm.
See, cause
Yeah,
what?
you was just looking at the backside.
That's what you.
You was just looking.
Come on.
I mean, but that's what you
but
said.
every
But that's your
aspect,
vision.
Yeah.
every aspect.
Wait, that's good.
You know, it was delayed.
Yeah.
That's good. You didn't see beyond.
You didn't see beyond.
No.
And so you get stuck.
Yeah.
You know, we've been married for 5 years.
Yeah.
Ain't that powerful?
Wow.
But a lot, like even, just looking at the numbers and statistics, divorce is more prevalent in Christian marriages.
Jesus.
The rate of divorce is heightened in
Wow.
Christian marriages
Yeah.
among people who claim to be Christians.
Yeah.
And so that's always bothered me hearing that number because I like to look it up every time.
Yeah.
But how many? So I like to dig deeper when I see
Mhm.
stats, right? So I started going down a rabbit hole of out of the number of Christian marriages that failed,
Mhm.
how many of them sat under their shepherd or leader that had a successful marriage?
Yeah.
What? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was sparkling.
That was deep.
But it's good.
The thing
Yeah.
is that
Again, modeling
you
behavior.
talked about
Yes.
it earlier. Where is it that, how am I able to model even
Yeah.
from a Christian perspective
Yes.
if every single leader is single?
Mm-hmm.
How are you guiding that? Or if every single person has been married for 30 some odd years, do they remember? Can they guide someone who's been married for 5 years?
Right.
Do they remember?
It's a different.
Then it's on the flip side, because I don't want to just kind of call out, but it's the same thing, whether we're talking about Christian marriages
Mhm.
or when we're talking about if the demographic of
Yeah.
your church
Mhm.
is all single,
Mhm.
but all the activities is catered toward the married folks. Hopelessness, especially when all of the singles in the church are women.
Yes.
You look around and there's no, so the thing is that that's where, and I know that a lot of times it's, oh, well, we got to keep the business side out of the church. There's no separation.
There isn't.
The
No.
church
You
is a
have to
business.
look
Yeah.
we look at it in the
Mhm.
marketplace. We look at the numbers. We look at outcomes. We look at the impact. And if you're losing or not even engaging your people, you have to take a look at, What is the makeup of my leadership team?
Yes.
Is it catered to the demographic of my congregation?
Yes.
And this goes for, I don't want it to seem like we're just, picking on churches, because we're not.
Mhm.
We're talking about mission-driven organizations, and it falls into that nonprofit realm.
Yes.
So the thing is that you have to take a look at who is following me,
Yes.
and am I equipped? Anyone who comes in under my leadership, if they're married, I don't counsel them. I will connect them
Yes.
with either the covering ministry or
Yeah.
partners to be able to talk to them about that. Same thing for men. If men contact, I'm not, I'll listen and then I'll point you
Yes.
to the person who is equipped in that area. We also have to get to that point where, as leaders, we understand more how to point, how to point and direct people to the right person. We are not the answer. One individual cannot be the end all be all. I know a little bit about a lot, but I don't know the fine details. And hence why we're sitting here at the table to bring in different perspectives. I just want to see this multiply. Multiply throughout the city, the state, and just the kingdom.
Yes.
Because when the day comes, when we go to glory, we have to learn the skill of being able to interact.
You're going to be up there with people you didn't think were going to make it in.
I mean, and be looking for people you thought was there.
Exactly. You're going to learn a whole new language. But it's so profound to think about. Community is the bedrock for safeguarding your hope. It's the bedrock. When you think about it from a clinical perspective, like mental health and when you talk about emotions, if a patient comes in, the first thing that we're going to analyze, not just what's going on with you, but what do we call your protective factors? What are those things that can protect you against that hope failure? So you're thinking about, family, you're thinking about religious structure, you're thinking about friends, you're thinking about a community of people that are around you. And then it starts also too with the helper, the therapist. Are they representing your beliefs, your values, and your morals, what you believe, your philosophies? And so if you take that same ideology even into your personal life, who can I call on, and does that person represent the vision that God has put in my life? Because if you can't represent what God is doing in me, then how can you help me get to where I need to go? If you can't be the mirror from God, not of yourself, but from God, to show me a pathway, a model. I mean, think about it. Jesus did that for 3.5 years with his disciples. It's called discipleship, right? We have stepped away from discipleship. And I mean, you can say discipleship, you can say mentorship. And so we've stepped away from that, and we moved over more so into I'm going to tell you what to do, but then I'm going to leave it to you to do it.
Figure it out.
I'm going to need you to figure it out. I'm going to, here's what I did. And you're like, well, you did that 50 years ago. How am I going to do that today? How am I, even thinking about an old business plan. I had someone tell me, well, I have an idea for a business. And I was like, okay, cool. What is your, what's your vision? What's your business plan? And they're like, well, I'm just going to pick up, this was a student, I'm just going to pick up what my father did. And I was like,
wow, you're making tears come to my eyes.
Like, I'm just going to pick up what my father did. How is that going to, and you're a student and you're thinking, and, the student, he was thinking about leaving college. He was like, I don't see my purpose in college anymore, getting an education. And so he was like, I'm just going to start my own business. And I said, okay, what is your plan? Because if you're planning on leaving an institution that you've invested in, I need to know, and comfortable enough to let you go, I need to know what your plans are. And you're saying, well, I'm just going to pick up what my father did. Well, your father did lawn care, but do you even know the first thing about lawn care? Like, have you even sat and been tutored under him? Or, because, and he's just like, well, that's just what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to make a living. And then he wanted to get married.
So, we have talked about a lot. And it just tells us that there's more to unpack. There's more conversation that has to be had. And I want to encourage anyone that is watching this series on congestive hope failure, whether we're in our sit room reflecting
Yeah.
on this topic, or we're in the strategy formation room unpacking this.
Yeah.
If there's something in you that says, hey, I want to be a part of the conversation, I want to sit in, come in. You can watch it online, but there's nothing like being able to come in, hear the discussion, but more importantly, getting your questions answered.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You always look at the comments. We always look at what's being said,
Yeah.
but it's time to come out.
Yes.
So that is kind of my encouragement to you, because everyone has their own individual situation,
Mhm.
and we want to hear from you.
Yes.
So Angel, I'll let you go first.
Amen.
Any final thoughts?
I'm in a whirlwind, to be honest with you. You all shared such profound statements, profound perspectives.
Mhm.
My heart breaks for the people that are hopeless. My heart breaks because they either get in a form of isolation, which I have been in. Oh my goodness. And I encourage people all the time, do the uncomfortable thing and step out. I mean, this would not be a part of my year if I did not bring myself out of isolation and do the uncomfortable thing. So I'm at a loss for words. Yeah. Brandon, final thoughts?
Well, in the words of Brandon Blue, this ain't coming from the scripture. It's coming from me. But no, what's so important is to remember that you do have agency, and that's just free will. And so with that choice, decide today, not tomorrow, not next year, because how many times, you made a point, like how many times did we start a New Year's resolution and we say, well, I'm going to start at the beginning of the year, and then you start it, but that decision has to be an everyday decision. So your fight against hopelessness is not a one fix. It's a daily decision to say, you know what, I'm going to find at least one person to connect with that knows my vision and has the ability to steward, and I wanted to use the word father, that vision, to instruct, right? And so make that decision and do it every day. Do it every day, because every day God gives you the grace and the mercy to fulfill His will.
Yes. And just to piggyback on that, in the most simplest of terms, that's part of the prayer that Jesus had said. Give us this day
Our
daily bread. And maybe you don't know what your vision is. Maybe you don't have a community that can guide or encourage or shepherd what your purpose is. Whatever it is that you need, that is the reason why Favor Together is here.
Yes.
It is not a cult.
No.
And it may not even be somewhere that you stay long term, but it is for a season, whatever it is that you need in order to help you to move your vision and your purpose forward. That's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you get to work with some great emerging leaders, and again, some
seasoned. Let me help you. Define.
There you go. Thank you.
Some seasoned wisdom.
Yes.
That's been running the race, but has the equipment, and that's the thing. It's not about who you like, who you don't like. It's about what has God put in you and who can help cultivate. Because let me tell you this: God will never ask you if you like that person.
There you go.
When you stand before Him and you give an account to Him, it's just that, an account. It's going to be a book record keeping account. And it's going to say, all right, check, you did it. No, you didn't.
Correct.
And it's not going to be, well, did you like that person? Did that person agree with you every day? Did you eat lunch? Listen, that's not His goal in His mind. What He's looking for is, have you connected with the people I brought? It's like that analogy. I saw this on a TV show where the person would say, I'm praying and asking God for help. And they were in the middle of the ocean. And they were praying, asking God for help. And so they said, okay, I'm waiting on God to come help me. God's going to come rescue me. And the first boat comes by and says, hey, do you need help? Can we get you out here? No, I'm praying and asking God for help. Then the second boat, I'm praying and asking God for help. Third boat, eventually they die in the water. They come before God, and God says, well, I sent the boat 3 times. We think we need God's hand to just come out of the sky and grab us Himself. And He's saying, I help through sending my vessels.
Yes, and a lot of the self-reflection, and that's the reason why Angel and I do the sit room
Mhm.
every week, because you have an opportunity to reflect on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But one of the things, to your point, is reflecting on, is there anyone that God sent
Yes.
that I rejected?
Mhm.
And then it's, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
Because it doesn't change. God
Yeah.
doesn't change.
Yeah.
If he sent them
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you rejected them, or you allowed people around you to run
Yeah.
them
Yes.
out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you still have to make right by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because even in that analogy, God said, hey, I sent this. I sent. There's still an opportunity where he can send
Yes.
the first person back, the second person back, the
Mhm.
third person back. But it's about making a decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we talk about give us this day our daily bread, making a decision to reconnect, to align back to the original
Yes.
vision
Yeah.
and purpose. And sometimes it's looking at the people, places, and things.
Yes.
Where did you get out of alignment?
Mhm.
And now it's time to come back into alignment and get out of this hopelessness,
Yes.
because it's not healthy.
No,
Mm-mm.
it's a killer.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's killing
Yes.
the very essence of who you are.
Yeah.
You know, because what you do comes from who you are.
Yes.
And hopelessness is an agent of darkness
Mhm.
to fight you on every side,
Yeah.
to say you will never become.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and it's a delusion.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hopelessness is a
It
delusion.
is.
Because if you look at, like, I was talking to someone on Tuesday,
Mm.
and I said to her, I said, you are already who you are.
Yes.
Paul said, I am what I am.
Yes.
So you already are. You are
Yeah.
who you are
Yeah.
from the day you were born.
Mhm.
You have every gift, every
Mhm.
talent. You're not increasing
Mhm.
in your gifts. It's already there in you.
Yes.
You're becoming more aware of it and
Yes.
conscious.
Mhm.
What hopelessness
That's
does,
good.
it makes you ignorant.
Yes.
Yes.
It makes you blind. It
Yes.
makes your understanding darkened to who you are.
And
Yeah.
it will isolate you.
Yes, it
Yeah.
Because hopelessness doesn't want you to be
Around?
around
No.
anybody else.
will.
And that is not on our watch.
No,
No.
because how can you be around people laughing and smiling,
Yeah.
and then you not laughing and
Yeah.
smiling? It's contagious.
It is.
Joy
Exactly.
is contagious.
Yes.
Yes.
And so if I can keep you isolated, I can
Yeah.
keep you broken, I
Yes.
can keep you wounded,
Mhm.
I can keep you silent,
Mhm. Mhm.
I can keep your voice quiet.
Yes.
And we have to stop allowing that thing
Yeah.
Mhm.
to control us.
Yes.
Mhm.
So get connected.
Yes.
That's what we're saying. So there is more to come.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I thoroughly enjoyed this
Yes.
conversation. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
So we will see you next time on Formation Unpacked, and come to the table.
Congratulations. You made it.
I'm glad to have you.